Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, on a Friday night, coming to you from our studios, Main Street, downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth here, joined by nobody. It's just me. The mice have scattered on this. What is it about beautiful Friday afternoons in June that people feel like they have to leave? They can't do their jobs, yet I am here, slaving away behind the hot Sports Talk mic. That's all right. Less of them means more of me, and that's what you all want. We know that. 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Communicate with us how you wish. Watch us on our YouTube internet feed, on our YouTube channel, Sports Talk SC. If you lose us over the airwaves, make sure you find us via your laptop, your computer, your smartphone, iHeartMedia, the streams there. Also, the TuneIn app station streaming there as well. First day of the Super Regionals, and boy, a great game going on at College Station. Texas A&M, if you have not been paying attention, jumped out to a 6-0 lead on little old Davidson. And it looked like, Davidson, the 4th seed, first time ever in the tournament, looked like they were just way over their heads, overmatched, going to get blown out. You know what? It's bottom of the 9th, 6-6. Texas A&M does have a runner on first with one out. 6-14-2, 6-9-2. Davidson has just snipped away at that lead until catching up. 6-6, bottom of the 9th. Needless to say, that would just be a monumental upset. Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach underway. They're scoreless, bottom of the first. Earlier, Louisville picked up its 50th win of the season, 5-2 over Kentucky, 5-4-1 for Louisville, 2-7-2 for Kentucky. The Cardinals playing at home on that. Now, I've never been to the stadium there. It looks like carpet all the way around. Even the infield looks like carpet to me, which is what they have at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has an all-carpet field. Even what looks like dirt is carpet. Louisville looks the same to me, too. Pretty ugly. Louisville jumped out to a 2-0 lead, scored 3 in the 5th, led 5-0. Kentucky scored 2 in the 9th to make it 5-2, and they had a little bit of dust up during the ball game when who was it? Somebody for Louisville hit a home run. Yeah, I think it was Drew Ellis, the third baseman. He had 4 RBIs on the day, and he did a little bat flip and a little staring back at the pitcher and all this kind of stuff. And I don't think anything happened. I don't think anybody was ejected. No one was thrown at, anything like that. But obviously, emotions and tensions running high in this one. Cade McClure started for Louisville, and he picked up the win. He went 5 in the 3rd inning. So Louisville a win away from going back to Omaha for the 4th time. I believe the sign in their outfield said College World Series 2007, 2013, and 2014. So they are a win away. But, getting that second win, even when you're at home in a super regional, very, very difficult. Out on the West Coast tonight, Vanderbilt will face the number 1 seed, Oregon State. Oregon State, unbelievable, at 52-4. And, of course, the news that came out yesterday is affecting the game today, and that is that the Beavers' top pitcher is it Hemlick, their top pitcher, Heinrich, very, very good pitcher. Well, it was revealed that he had about 5 years ago been arrested for child molestation. Had that kind of deal against him. Yeah, you didn't see that? Yeah. And this apparently just coming to light. And so he's not going to make the start tonight against Vanderbilt. I don't know if it's because of that story or why wouldn't you start your number one guy? But he's not going to start tonight. So throws a different light on that particular regional and that particular game tonight. I am assuming, I don't know for sure, I haven't seen it. I'm assuming that Vanderbilt will go with Kyle Wright tonight, their number one guy. But again, I haven't seen anything to definitely say that. So that's what's going on right now. And again, we're watching Davidson and we're watching Texas A&M, and it's a 6-6 game in College Station. And what a job by Davidson to get back into this thing. By the way, 800-956-7266. USC did not hire a baseball coach today, I don't think. Anybody see anybody get hired? I don't think so. Now, a lot of people out there on Twitter in the world of fantasy believe that it's a done deal, Kevin O'Sullivan to South Carolina. I've seen that being run up the flagpole by some people on Twitter who claim to have sources. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they know what they're talking about, maybe they don't. Well, I should say this. Somebody sent me a copy of a tweet by none other than Kendall Rogers, a college baseball expert, who has put out there that the exact wording was something like, don't be surprised, or it looks like it could happen, Kevin O'Sullivan to South Carolina. And it could, anything's possible at this stage. I'm not going to sit here and put kibosh on any particular possibility. However, do you know his deal at the University of Florida that he just signed prior to this season? Annual compensation of $1.25 million in a contract that runs through 2025. But Phil, the $1 million buyout he'd have to pay goes down to $750 if he waits until after July. Well, I mean, what's the big whoopee on that? $750 still $750. That's still a big chunk of change, whether you're having to pay $1 million or $750. That's only a $250 difference. He would have to pay, if he were to leave Florida before July of 2017, he'll have to pay $1 million. After July 17, it goes down to $750. But his overall deal is $1.25 million. It's broken down into base salary, apparel and equipment contracts, and other bonuses and stuff that push it up. He also got a $500,000 signing bonus. So let's just say, so you're going to tell me he's not coming to South Carolina. If he's making $1.25 million at Florida, it stands to reason he's not coming to South Carolina for a penny less, right? And it also stands to reason that he would have South Carolina pay his buyout, wouldn't he? If they want him badly enough. So you're saying it. Let's just put all that together. That's 1.25. So that's you're going to pay over $2 million to get Sully to come to South Carolina. I mean, that's how I see that. And I see that as a big fat no. I don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening. It's a big name, and, they've made a commitment to him as well to refurbish their stadium. It obviously needs some improvements, and that's something that they have promised him as well as part of the new contract that he signed. I mean, he committed to them through 2025. That's a long-term contract. And we know contracts are broken. But, if that were to come to fruition, then that would be a major, major surprise from the standpoint of the financial considerations involved on both parts there. 800-956-7266. They're still tied at 6. They're in the top of the 10th. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk. They're going to the bottom of the 10th, 6-6 College Station. And Long Beach State has taken a 1-0 lead in its game over Cal State Fullerton, bottom of the first. One more thing on USC baseball. Mike Wilson from SEC Country is reporting that Michigan's Eric Bakich is expected to get an interview for the job. He's 40 years old. I'm sorry, he's not 40. He led Michigan to a 40-win season and a regional appearance this year. During his time in Ann Arbor, he's been to 2 NCAA tournaments. He won a Big Ten tournament title in 2015. He coached under Tim Corbin at Vandy. He coached under Jack Leggett at Clemson. He's also the former head coach at Maryland. All right. I don't know what the difference in an Eric Bakich and a Chad Holbrook, what the differences are, but why you would go from Chad Holbrook to Eric Bakich. He's never been to Omaha. He won 40 games. So did Holbrook. Had a regional appearance this year. Holbrook had 3, 2 supers. But anyway, if that's what they do, that's what they do. I'm just thinking out loud here. Spitballing, as I like to say. 800-956-7266. Let's go to Doug in Florence. First call tonight. Lines are wide open for you. Oh, let me tell you what we have coming up. Of course, the full Monty on NASCAR. Kyle Busch won the pole at Pocono. We'll have birdies and bogeys across South Carolina with George Bryan III getting close to the U.S. Open next week. We'll update the PGA Tour stuff, which is in Memphis this week. We'll give you the leaderboard on that in a little bit. And a visit from James Crepa from AL.com, who covers the Auburn Tigers. We continue to preview upcoming Clemson and USC opponents tonight, the Auburn Tigers, who will bring an interesting squad to Clemson for the second game of the season. Where are we going now? I forgot. We're going. Doug in Florence, welcome to Sports Talk on a Friday night. Man, you must be bored out of your mind.
Well, Phil, I appreciate you taking my call. I'm not bored. I wanted to make a couple of comments about something that you said the other night in regard to the situation at the University of Mississippi with their football program and the parallel that you drew with University of North Carolina.
Sure.
And you made I was a little bit disappointed because I hold you in a little bit higher regard in terms of journalism, and so I don't want you to take it as a criticism, but it is a false equivalency because the situation in North Carolina is nothing like what was portrayed at the University of Mississippi the other night. And the primary difference comes in that the problems or the academic issues were not related to just athletes. The classes that were in question were in fact taken by a majority of non-athletes. So there was no impermissible benefit because these particular classes were open to any students, and less than majority of the students that took them were athletes. And that's a big, big difference from what was talked about the other night at the University of Mississippi. And the other glaring difference is that the coaches at UNC, over 3 different investigations, were completely absolved from any involvement or wrongdoing. And that is certainly not the case, at least at this point, with what's going on at Mississippi.
Okay. I think what you're saying is probably right on for the most part. However, if you go and take fake classes, all right, whether you are part of this, just a regular student body, or you are an athlete and you are taking fake classes and you are getting made up grades, or people are giving you grades, or people are taking the classes for you, however you want to describe it. If you're a regular student, it makes your diploma invalid if those courses and those grades were used towards your graduation. And if those courses and those grades, if you're an athlete, were used towards you meeting NCAA eligibility requirements, it makes you ineligible. And some Just yes or no. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, you agree with that. So we agree that if you took those courses and you got those grades and you're an athlete and those are applied towards your GPA to keep you eligible, then you're ineligible. Thus, North Carolina, knowingly or not, coaches knowingly or not, played athletes who were ineligible. And that is a major – that's – hang on. That's a very, very high major offense in the eyes of the NCAA, punishable by forfeiture of every game that an ineligible player played in. Do you agree with that?
I agree. If that was the situation, that yes, if you're talking, but again, the distinction is fake classes. Okay, the classes at North. Now, let me also make this clear. I'm not defending those classes, and I'm not trying to pretend that those classes were, physics, courses and labs. At all. I'm not suggesting that. But the courses were in fact not fake. What happened with the classes is they were portrayed as lecture classes, when in fact, and this was classes in one department. In fact, these classes, they were not lecture classes, but they did require a paper, and so work was required to be turned in to get a grade for it. And I'm not suggesting that the situation at North Carolina was not that was completely above board. That's not my argument. But the classes did require work. A paper was required, and the classes were portrayed as lecture classes when in fact they were not. You did not have to show up. You just had to write a paper. And I suspect that the grading on the papers was lenient in some cases. And again, I'm not saying that that there's no that there's no culpability at North Carolina at all. But the classes did require work. So the term fake classes is not appropriate in this situation. If in fact the classes were fake and no work was required and grades were just pulled out of the air, then I would agree with you 100%. But I would bet you a dinner right now that after this is all over and done, I will bet you that North Carolina comes out of this with no penalties and no punishment.
Let's see. Where in Florence do I like to eat? How about that really nice place downtown? What's it called?
Victor's?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the bet then. If North Carolina winds up getting penalized by being put on probation or having wins vacated, I will buy you dinner.
Okay. That's a deal.
And if not, you buy me dinner.
That's a deal. You're on.
Okay. Very good. I appreciate your time and taking my call.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. Is he gone? I meant to tell him. No, he's gone. He's gone. I meant to tell him that if I win the bet, we go to Victor's. If he wins the bet, we go to Ryan's. I mean, we didn't agree on – we only agreed that if I win the bet, we go to Victor's, right? We didn't agree on where we're going to go if I lose the bet. So that's still open-ended. But I'll be fair about it. I'll be very fair. I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't know if I agree with you or not. I've read too much about the courses, about, the News and Observer of Raleigh's just had too much stuff about the thousands of students who went through these programs. Call them fake, call them less than high level, however you want to describe it. It just sounds like a lot of students and a lot of athletes skated through without having to do the work, which in my eyes makes for bogus grades and makes the athletes ineligible for any games they played in. Thanks for the call. We'll be back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Hope you had a great day and a great week. What a week it was. And we're looking forward to taking you into the weekend. Got a lot of recruiting coming your way. South Carolina offering a couple of in-state linemen, also offering a tall receiver out of Georgia in the last couple of days, last 24 hours. We'll bring you up to speed on all of that here coming up in a little bit. 800-956-7266. Davidson's got a little threat going in the top of the 11th. They've got first and second with 2 men out. And in a 6-6 game in which Davidson came from 6-0 down to tie this thing up. Long Beach State's at the end of one is leading Cal State Fullerton 3-0. The Dirtbags getting it done there. 800-956-7266 is our phone number if you'd like to join in. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC, how you can reach us there. We got open phone lines. Love to hear from you on this Friday. We'll be talking some football, a little breakdown on the Auburn team coming your way in a little bit. We can pick up on what we were talking about last night for both USC and Clemson now as we, on the calendar, a month from tomorrow. What's today, the 9th? My days get away from me. Let's see, the 9th. Yeah. July 10, Monday, July 10 is the first day of SEC Media Day. So by the calendar, 1 month from tomorrow, SEC Media Days. Where do you think they're going to put the Gamecocks? The media I'm talking about. No, they're not going to put them first, Pat. Pat Daniel working tonight and being silly. I think he's been out in the sun too much. But I would think legitimately you could think about the Gamecocks. I'd say legitimately you could say this and nobody would laugh at you. Fourth. I'm talking about in the East. Fourth in the East. Now, you could slide them up to third, and some people might laugh at you, but you could make the argument with their offense and improved defense that you expect that they could slide up into third. I still like Georgia 1, despite the holes on the offensive line, as we talked about last night. I still like them 1. A lot of defense coming back at Georgia. Plenty of offense. So I like them at 1. Got to go with Florida at 2. And then the question mark is 3. Is it Tennessee or USC or Kentucky? Really, I think any of those 3 could end up third. And then any of those 3 could be fourth. Any of those 3 could be fifth. And then you got your bottom 2. That is how I could see the East. I'll give you my official vote when I'm there in a month. As for Clemson in the Atlantic Division, I think the Tigers are going to take a couple of lumps this year. I really do. Auburn could get them. Florida State could get them, and both of those are at home. That would be tough to take. Louisville, I've already said that South Carolina will beat them at the end of the year. Oh, yeah. All right. Who wants to bet me on that? I've already got one dinner sewn up for whenever. The problem with that bet with Doug and Florence, right? It was Doug. I got to remember his name so I can track him down. Hell, it might be a couple more years before the NCAA gets around to settling the North Carolina case. Doug and I might be eating out of a spoon or with a straw by the time they get around to figuring that thing out. All right, back to the phones we go. Let's go to Will in Spartanburg. Will, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
Hey, how are you, sir?
Good.
Yeah, I believe you're going to be eating very well in Florence. I've seen a lot from these people from Chapel Hill trying to defend this on social media and everything else. And, oh, my goodness, they've been drinking the baby blue Kool-Aid. Because, there was one football player who was credited with 6 hours before he was even enrolled, before the date he was even enrolled in school.
Yeah.
How do you complete 6 hours before you're even enrolled? And, they keep saying there wasn't a high amount of athletes in these classes. Even the North Carolina legislature with their investigation found that there was an extraordinary high percentage of student athletes in these classes.
And they've already pretty much decimated the women's basketball program. I mean, poor Sylvia.
There's no doubt it was a funnel for athletes.
And Sylvia has made it clear she's not going down quiet. I mean, she's not going to sit back and let everything be pinned on the women's basketball team. If women's basketball players were getting caught up in this thing, don't you think a few men's players? I mean, you can believe Rashad McCants or not. Either he's telling the truth or he's one of the great liars of recent time.
Yeah, but I mean, even with the stuff coming out with who was that great football player, Peppers, and all that stuff, you know, in their tests. I mean, it's just insane to think that it wasn't a funnel for athletes. And you know, I mean, I even saw one report where there's one football player who, you know, had a D in English, but yet he had 2 A's in Swahili. I mean, you barely pass English, but you make straight A's in Swahili. I mean, that's insane.
I wonder if they have at Victor's. I wonder if they have a 22-ounce ribeye bone-in medium rare.
I'm sure they do. You're going to find out, I believe. It might take a while, but you'll find out.
Yeah.
And all the reports that I've seen, too, say that the NCAA is just very angry with North Carolina with how, you know, arrogant they've been and how defensive they've been while they were trying to investigate.
Well, what they've done is
that doesn't bode well for them lighting the hammer.
Well, they've spat at the NCAA basically, and they said, "Look, you don't have jurisdiction in any of this. This is an academic question mark." And the other thing too is, if Pro were sitting here, he'd have pointed this out. If academics were not involved here and not, and this was not correct, why would what is it called? The Southern University's accreditation. Didn't they have their accreditation dropped or reduced by that group that accredits university? I mean, you know, we'll wait and see. The NCAA is, and they're under pressure too, because people believe that the NCAA treats certain schools with kid gloves. Notre Dame, North Carolina, you know, the Dukes, the Kansases. So, you know, but you know, they did drop the hammer on Southern Cal a few years ago, really harsh, and they've got to take action. If they've got the evidence and they can prove it, they have got to take the action in this case.
Yes, I just wanted to assure you will be eating well, and I believe the roof is the ceiling, and the NCAA is going to pin them to it.
All right, we shall see, man. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
One thing they will do at North Carolina is they will do everything they can to protect the legacy of Dean Smith. They're going to make sure, if anything, and listen, this has been reported as going back decades. We're talking about going, you know, back when Dean Smith was there coaching. And you heard the caller from Florence say, you know, none of our coaches knew about it, which I call BS on that too. But they're going to do everything they can to make sure none of this gets traced back to the Dean Smith era, and none of that's pinned on him. But, you know, I've heard Roy give his explanation. Hey, we're way over here. Okay, the basketball office is way over here at the Smith Center. I think that's where their offices are. We're way over here, and the academic campus is way over there. And the provost, all those courses are created. That's way over there, and where the courses are assigned, that's not done by us. But people in your organization, on your coaching staff, they know what courses are being taken. You have academic advisors right there in your office who work with the athletes daily, who set up their class schedule around practice schedule. They know what classes they're in. They know what grades they're getting. And every head coach checks with the academic advisors on players' grade status. How's this guy doing? What's he taking? Is he eligible? Is he meeting the requirements? Don't tell me they didn't know. All right. I mean, especially on a basketball staff where you've only got 13 players on scholarship to keep up with. Football, you got 85. You know, I imagine the head coach might know what his quarterback's doing and his star receiver, maybe his great running back. But basketball, there's no excuse for the head coach not knowing what his players are taking and how they're doing academically. Back in a moment. Back we are, Sports Talk. A lot of recruiting coming up for you in a moment. Let's take a look at what's happening in College Station. Oh, my. Aggies have the bases loaded, 2 out, a 1-0 count in a 6-6 game, and the Wildcat pitcher cannot throw a strike. He just walked a guy a minute ago. Oh, I take it back. He just threw a strike. That looked low, but he got the call. Before I do recruiting, I got to wait and see how this turns out. This is too exciting. This is what makes the Super Regional so good. The pressure, the tension on every pitch. And he's gotten ahead 1-2. Let's see what happens here coming up. Bases loaded. Texas A&M, the big favorite here. Yeah, Davidson rallied from a 6-0 deficit to tie this thing up. And it looked like Texas A&M was just going to run away with it, up 6-0. Had everything going its way. And give the Wildcats credit, win or lose here, because this would be heartbreaking for them. Long Beach State is leading Cal State Fullerton 3-0. They're in the bottom of the second. The Dirtbags playing out at Long Beach. Still hanging in there. It's 2-2 now, bases loaded. Davidson at Texas A&M. Let me update the other game that's going on while we're waiting for this one to possibly be decided here. Let's see. We've got that's it. Yeah, the other game of the day is done. Louisville 5-2 over Kentucky, and then Vandy and Oregon State tonight. Oh, he struck him out swinging. Struck him out swinging. High cheese. 6-6. 6-11-2 for Davidson. 6-15-2, and the Aggies leave the bases loaded. How about that? Okay, recruiting for you now here on this Friday edition of Sports Talk. A lot of stuff going on. USC had a lineman camp today and handed out offers to 2018 Wyatt Campbell, 6'6", 285, Lugoff Elgin, and 2019 Cameron McCrae, 6'6", 320 of Berkeley. Campbell, we've been following him for a while. He now has 17 offers. McCrae, that's his first. Some other offers for Campbell: Louisville, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Arizona State, Duke, NC State, and several mid-majors. The USC offer, however, was one he was coveting, and he said for a moment he considered committing on the spot. But he says he's going to visit some other schools just to be 100% sure. It really gives him an option to stay at home and play at the highest level. They said they liked how he played. They like how he's physical and his approach to the game. He drew a lot of attention from offensive line coach Eric Wolford, who obviously was impressed by what he saw. He also liked Wolford. He plans to visit Virginia Tech tomorrow, Clemson on June 14th. He's also been to Duke and NC State earlier in the spring. He plans to make a decision at the end of the summer, but it could come sooner now that he has this USC offer. USC quarterback target Dakereon Joyner was at USC today to watch the campers. According to Hale McGranahan of SEC Country, he announces a week from Sunday, Father's Day, for USC or NC State. USC tight end target Gavin Schoenwald of Nashville plans to visit the Gamecocks next Saturday. He also plans to take an unofficial visit to Vanderbilt at some point, looking at late July or early August for his decision. Ole Miss has also been. According to Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated, wide receiver Justin Ross of Phoenix City, Alabama, is visiting Clemson today, Patrick, and defensive back Kyler McMichael of Duluth, Georgia, is going to visit Clemson tomorrow. Two primary targets for the Tigers, Ross and McMichael. Defensive lineman Darnell Jeffries of Covington, Georgia, a big target, tweeted he is taking a break from recruiting. He's at the beach, so don't bother him. He's been to Georgia, Alabama, and LSU in recent weeks. He's scheduled to be at Clemson on Tuesday. Defensive back Edward Johnson, 6'2", 180 of Montgomery, Alabama, was at USC yesterday. He's hopeful for an offer. Said he loves the Gamecocks, one of the best visits he's been to. He said they liked his highlights, and they think he's a playmaker. And, yes, he thinks they're going to offer. He said USC joins Auburn and Mississippi State at the top of his list. He has been to Auburn, and he'll visit Mississippi State next Saturday. He's also been to Tennessee Tech, Troy, UAB, and Morgan State. 2018 defensive end Trajan Jeffcoat, 2019 running back Kendrell Flowers of Irmo were at Georgia yesterday. They were at Clemson Wednesday and at USC Saturday. USC offered 2020 receiver Dazzlin Worsham of Trussville, Alabama. USC target linebacker Quay Walker, Cordele, Georgia, committed to Alabama. I think I mentioned all these yesterday, but I'll do it again. Clemson offered 2019 defensive back Brandon Spector, Calhoun, Georgia. His brother is a freshman linebacker at Clemson. His dad played for the Tigers. I would expect he'll commit to the Tigers. 2020 quarterback Roman Purcell of Indianapolis was at USC's camp yesterday. 2019 defensive lineman Antonio Alfano of Rahway, New Jersey, was at Clemson's camp Thursday. He's a heavily recruited prospect. He also visited Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia on this southern trip. His offers include Ohio State, Penn State, Southern Cal, UCLA, Miami, Florida, Georgia, and Duke. Wide receiver Tyquan Johnson, 6'3", 181, Sylvania, Georgia, plays at Scriven County High School, known as the Gamecocks. Well, he's got a chance to continue his career with the Gamecocks of South Carolina. He worked out for Will Muschamp in camp yesterday and for Brian McClendon, and afterwards they offered him. He said the offer means a lot. He says McClendon has known about him since the 8th grade, going back to when McClendon was at Georgia. He likes Muschamp. They love the way he competes, and as he says, the way he just balls out. Good competitor, big, physical, and fast. And he said there would be, is his quote, there would be a sight to see me on the team, have a winning streak, and winning some bowl games. He also has offers from Kansas State, Mississippi State, Syracuse, Georgia Southern, Wake Forest, Kentucky, Western Kentucky, FAU, Troy, Tulane, and others. This offer from USC puts the Gamecocks in great shape. He says, quote, they're in the top. He said, I told Coach McClendon, they in the top, no doubt about that. Them and Mississippi State, they're the top two right now. He visited Mississippi State earlier this year. He's going back to Starkville June 17th for a visit. This was his last camp. He won't make a decision until December after his officials. He is not graduating early. Offensive lineman Gavin Orr, 6'4", 270, Gadsden, Alabama. His grandmother is Danny Ford's first cousin. So there's a connection. Robbie Caldwell, Clemson offensive line coach, knew about him, and they had him in camp, and they really like what they saw in him. He can also play H-back and tight end, but primarily an interior offensive lineman. And he said Caldwell told him to be patient, that they're going to be evaluating players for the next month or so, and he's hoping to get an offer. They like his footwork and his toughness. He could probably add 20 pounds of good weight. He has also made stops at Alabama and Mississippi State, among other places, including Furman. And he's also been invited to camp at Vanderbilt, Purdue, Wake Forest, Duke, Kansas, and Southern Miss. He has 19 offers with Appalachian State, Troy, Army, UAB, Middle Tennessee, and Samford among his favorites. But if Clemson were to offer, he said that would be very exciting, and he would have them definitely at the top of his list. He's also a basketball player, carries a 4.0, is the third-ranked student in his class. All right, we got some basketball for you as well. Going to tell you about who's visiting USC over the weekend and who visited Clemson yesterday for hoops. We'll give you that after the top of the hour break. 6-6, bottom of the 12th, Davidson and Texas A&M. They are still going at it, and we will continue to go at it after we come back from the break.
I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah.
from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Did that end the inning? That play at third base did not end the inning. Second out. The inning is over now. So they're going to the 13th at College Station, and they're still tied at 6. They just had a play at third. Davidson, ball hit to the shortstop, runner on second, trying to go to third. Got him at the bag. What a game. 6-6, Davidson and Texas A&M going to the 13th. Let me wrap up recruiting here for you very quickly. I need my walk-up music. Could I have my walk-up music, please? I'm waiting on my walk-up music.
Kings in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the Kings in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the Kings in the building. Tell me how you feeling. Yeah, I said the Kings in the building. Tell me how you feeling.
All right. Enough of that. Let me wrap up the recruiting, and then George Bryan is going to join us. 6'5", Brandon Austin, grad transfer from Lehigh, making an official to USC this weekend. The Gamecocks still shopping and looking for a big guard, an older player. He fits the bill. Perry Clark and Bruce Shingler have known him from recruiting Northern Virginia, the DMV area. Frank Martin likes him a lot. Last year, he averaged 7 points per game, 46% from the floor, 35 from three, and 72 from the line. They like that he's a big guard. He can dribble, shoot, get to the basket, play through contact. He's a physical player. Now, he said, he doesn't there's a good chance this could be it for him. He's going to see after the visit what else he might want to do. LSU, Georgia Tech, East Carolina Pacific, and UMass have offered him. The other positive thing about him is he's got 2 years of eligibility left. Graduated, I guess, in 3 years, but he still has 2 years of eligibility. He only played 2 years at Lehigh, so that's a bonus there. You get him for 2 more years. And 2019 6'11" Malcolm Wilson from Ridgeview, who has a Clemson offer, was up there for a visit Thursday. And he said it was great. He's very pleased with the staff. He feels like they're creating a good relationship. He's very grateful for the offer. He saw the campus, the academic halls, the buildings, the living areas. Coach Smith, Coach Brownell explained to how important character was to them. So that checked out all the boxes in the personal column. And they showed him some clips of how they use their big men on offense. He's a still developing big man who averaged 4 points, 5 blocks, 6 rebounds per game last season, but people feel he has a big upside. Sunday, he's going to visit USC. The Gamecocks have not yet offered. All right. Somebody else with a big upside is my man GB3, George Bryan III. We talk some bogeys and birdies. I should say birdies and bogeys. Let's start with the positive. Birdies and bogeys across the state of South Carolina. How are you, sir?
Oh, I couldn't be better. And while you have walk-up music, there might be a little meow music in the background. Kind of a long story. We got kittens. We got kittens out, brand new kittens. So if anybody's looking for a kitten, we'll have them ready for you in a couple of weeks. and this, since you're talking upside, is it too early in our RET for me to ask for an increase in my per diem while I'm on the road?
Absolutely not. I hear that cat in the background, by the way. How much more do you need?
I need about twice as much. Let's start with twice as much. So get your calculator out. What's 2 times twice times 0 equals what now?
Hey, listen. You got a son who's already made about $1.50 this year, so hit him up for a loan.
Oh, he is so tight, it's unbelievable. And that's it. We'll get into that later on. I need something to pry his pocketbook open.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, just threaten to take away the car keys or something. No, I guess he's outgrown you when it comes to all that.
Yeah, I'll say that. That's lightly said. And hey, speaking of growing, I got to tell you, I started off at Porter's Neck. Thanks so much for all the accommodations there in Wilmington, Corn. That's it's nice to travel first class, and so I visited a beautiful golf course to watch the Carolinas Amateur, the Carolinas Women's Amateur.
Mm-hmm.
Saw some great golf. A young lady named she's a rising junior in high school. So the theme is going to be junior golf tonight, even though it was a Carolinas Amateur. Rachel King won the event. She's a rising junior in high school. Looks like she's heading to Wake Forest. I heard you did a little recruiting update. And this young player is solid. Now, from there, I went to the Columbia City Women's Amateur, the Sonic Columbia City Women's Amateur, and another junior in high school, rising junior named Parker Stalvey, was the junior story. And I got to throw it out that Mary Chandler, my daughter, who just recently graduated college in Charleston, tied for second in Wilmington and finished second in the Columbia event.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason for me going to the tournament.
Yeah, right.
Just so you know.
Right.
And hey, I did swing by Hilton Head to check out the senior U.S. Open qualifier. We didn't have anybody local to get in, but Steve Larrick did get an alternate spot. You never can tell.
Right.
He's at Golden Hills. He might get in. And then I'll conclude this golf segment with more junior golf. The South Carolina Golf Association Junior Golf Championship up yesterday at Columbia Country Club. And no surprise, we talked a little bit about Trent Phillips, and he just ran away with the event. And from what I understand, and I can't remember if it was you and I that spoke to him last week, this young man is the real deal. He's really got game, according to several of my sources. We could be watching him on TV, just like these other ones that we've talked about in the past. Speaking of TV golf, our South Carolina guys have a little trouble this week. But next week, I think they're getting ready for the U.S. Open. Scott Brown is at -4. Last time I checked, he might still be on the golf course though.
He is in with a 72, 4 under. He's 5 back.
Good. I'll tell you what, he just plays great all the time, and nothing would surprise me out of him, especially knowing that his buddy just recently won at Colonial. I got to recognize the boys 13, 14 champion and Zach Rulin. And he's the champion 13 to 14-year-old of the South Carolina Golf Association. Hey, I'm heading to Erin Hills. I'll be doing this. I don't know. We're gonna have to upgrade my press credential to get permission to speak on the golf course.
Well, just tell them you work for the PGA Tour, that you're on the PGA Tour radio. Now, listen, we're going to dial you up on Wednesday and do a preview from out there. What time does what tee time and group did Wesley draw?
No, Phil. I don't even think that's been announced yet, has it?
Yeah. The tee times came out yesterday. I just don't remember.
No, I don't know. I'm used to the PGA Tour, and that's my bad. I guess I snap hooked that one right out of bounds, or maybe I cold whiffed that one.
Well, I'll look it up, but they did release the tee times for the pairings and the tee times yesterday, so I'll go back and look. I just was wondering if you knew.
No, I just got my flight confirmation, rental car stuff, and I was pretty happy to find out that I appreciate it once again, Phil. That's beautiful.
Hey, we take care of our people. You know that. And look, we'll begin our coverage, our exclusive George Bryan Sports Talk coverage of the Open on Wednesday. How about that?
I like that. I like it a lot.
All right, brother. Thank you, man.
Have a good weekend.
We look forward to it. Birdies and bogeys. That's great stuff from George. He's been hip-hopping. He's been hip-hopping from one spot to the next, watching those juniors. He loves to follow junior golf here in South Carolina. He's the best at it, and we'll be back in a moment. Wow, what a game. What a game at Texas A&M. Let's see if I can reconstruct what happened in the 13th. Davidson had first and third, one out. Looked like they were going to try and do a squeeze. Runner at third came up the line too far. Catcher threw him out for the second out. Davidson then had a runner on first, 2 men out, got a base hit. Would have scored the run anyway. Got a base hit, but that did not lead to anything. So bottom of the 13th, 6-6, Davidson and Texas A&M still going at it. And Long Beach is still out in front in its game against Fullerton, 3-0, top of the fourth. Louisville has beat Kentucky today 5-2, and Oregon State and Vanderbilt coming up tonight. That'll be at 9 o'clock on ESPN2. So we're off and running with the Super Regionals here. Coming up in a few minutes, the full Monty on NASCAR. We're also going to be talking to, in a little bit, James Crepa with AL.com, waiting to connect with him. That should be happening momentarily. Talk about the Auburn Tigers a little bit. A little football talk for you here as we continue to preview the teams coming up on the schedules for USC and Clemson. We've done Kent State, and we have done NC State. And tonight we take a look at the Auburn Tigers, who are expecting to do some great things this year, I'm sure, with their transfer quarterback and plenty of talent returning. Terrific running back. Very good defense returning as well, even though they lose a couple of big-time players, defensive end, defensive tackle in particular. But by and large, some players returning on defense that they think they'll be pretty good on defense as well. Well, let's find out more from somebody who would know more, and it's James Crepa from AL.com joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man. Thank you for joining us here on a Friday afternoon. So, Auburn, we're looking ahead to Auburn and Clemson in that second week of the season, and I got a feeling that Auburn probably feels like they can go into Clemson and knock off the Tigers. Are you getting a positive vibe from them along those lines here in the summertime?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and just broad strokes, first and foremost. I mean, I don't know too many teams who are walking into the summer feeling particularly down on themselves for sure. But no, Auburn's definitely pretty optimistic in and around the program. Certainly the addition of Jarrett Stidham is the major reason why. I mean, look, the biggest struggle that this team had last year in particular was quarterback play. It's the reason why the offense struggled the most and was so inconsistent, particularly in the passing game, was because of quarterback play. Injuries to Sean White, who put forth a yeoman's effort at times, but Sean White is not the most gifted quarterback, let's be honest. Jarrett Stidham is far more physically talented. And I know Auburn fans and plenty of fans in the SEC region have heard about a physically talented Auburn quarterback who didn't fulfill his promise between Jeremy Johnson and others. So I understand the skepticism.
Yep. And
that's perfectly fine and fair. And I'm one of the first to point it out and say, for all the people who are on that hype train, let's slow down a half a step before you anoint him to anything, because while he is incredibly physically gifted and talented, and while he did play a couple of games as a freshman at Baylor, Jarrett Stidham also played some of the worst pass defense in the country, where not a single player moved on to the NFL in the last 2 years. So let's not make it out to be that he lit up, LSU and Alabama's secondaries and Georgia. These weren't who he was beaten up on. Mm-hmm. He was beaten up on some really bad Big 12 pass defenses. So yes, there's a lot of reasons for optimism. They're feeling pretty good about it. Now, have we spoken to them specifically in the spring about the Clemson matchup? Well, no. I mean, first and foremost, it was about Jarrett. It's about retooling the offense and the new offensive coordinator. Defensively, a lot of guys back. I heard you guys allude to that. And then, yeah, obviously they opened the season with, quite frankly, no, physically, Georgia Southern is not exactly an imposing matchup. But because it's a triple option, and they're changing to offensive coordinators to get back even further to the triple option roots, that's just something that this Auburn team, this Auburn defense hasn't seen. I mean, none of the players have seen it. But there's a lot of people at Auburn, even if you go back a number of years, I mean, it's just been a long time since Auburn has played a triple option style offense. So that's going to be in and of itself. And you're going from that in the opener, which, okay, you have all summer to prepare, but then you're going to go from that to on the road defending national champs and a reloading Clemson roster the following week. no matter how much they want to look forward to that game, you can't overlook Georgia Southern. And I know they're not a very good team by way of talent, but because of that triple option, they're going to actually have to really focus in on week one because it's just a unique challenge that they haven't faced before.
Sure. Now, along with Stidham, what other major offensive weapons will Auburn have either arriving here in the summer or coming back from last year?
Well, the number one has to be Cameron Petway. I mean, he was the best offensive player on the team as a 1,000-yard running back, where he missed a couple of games due to injury. He didn't get any carries in that season opener against Clemson. So Clemson fans are going to say, who's Petway? I mean, we could just go off what the game was in the opener last year. Well, Petway didn't get any carries in that game.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even really find out who he was by way of ball carrier until after the fact. And boy, did he make everybody feel it. I mean, this guy is a bulldozer. He's built like a freight train. And yeah, he ended up having a bizarre, he had to pull up on a hamstring injury against Vanderbilt and why he missed a couple of games late in the season. But the fact of the matter is as long as Cameron Petway is healthy, this is a 240-pound just workhorse of a running back. And he is just built, like I say, built like a train. And he will just bulldoze over just about anybody. He's a real powerful back and somebody who certainly Auburn fans are expecting at least another 1,000-yard season out of him because he's just that gifted and that much of a brute force. Kerryon Johnson, another running back who, yes, he can do a little bit of everything. He's more of an all-purpose back. He will catch balls out of the backfield. He'll line up as a wide receiver, he'll line up in Wildcat. So he offers a little bit more. But the passing game is where you're going to see the biggest difference. And Auburn's lead receivers from a year ago, well, the lead couple are gone. They were seniors who departed. But they had a freshman class last year who didn't put forth a ton of statistics, which, again, had more to do with the quarterback than the wideouts. Well, that freshman class is now sophomores, and some of them got to play a good bit. Some of them had some highlight reel catches, whether it was Kyle Davis, whether it was Eli Stove or Nate Craig Myers. Those three in particular, to them, we saw a lot of Nate Craig Myers in the A-Day game spring, and he was, Stidham's favorite target in that capacity. And Darius Slayton as well is a returning guy who's a redshirt sophomore. That's probably going to be your quartet of major targets there. And there are a couple others. So there are a couple of seniors who they're not going to be certainly huge stat guys. But look, John Franklin III, who was a quarterback who played a couple of plays against Clemson in that opener last year. Well, now he's a wide receiver, and I'm not going to tell you that he's going to go out there and catch 50 balls. No, he's not. That's just not going to happen. But fact is, he's an incredibly gifted and fast athlete. So if he gets the ball in space, you don't need a lot of plays for him to cost you a game. I mean, he could really hurt an opponent because he's got incredible speed. So they have top-end receivers who were among the top receivers in the country when they were recruits. And then they've got a couple other weapons at the wide receiver position who, while they haven't seen it and shown it statistically, athletically speaking, they're very gifted.
All right, and quickly on defense, we got about a minute. Carl Lawson is gone. Montravius Adams is gone. Two big bodies up front. How much of the defense after that has to be rebuilt?
So those are the two biggest bodies for sure, both physically and literally. Yes, those are two big pieces. One in Montravius Adams, well, they have Derek Brown, who is a player in Georgia, one of the top recruits in the country, 5-star defensive tackle coming in there. They got Byron Cowart, who's the former number one player in the country. They moved him from end to tackle, so they've reloaded the tackles a bit. Exterior to the end spot to Carl Lawson. There's some questions. Yes, it's probably going to be Jeff Holland in all likelihood. They're very high on him. He was a 4-star linebacker a couple of years ago, but in 2 years, mainly because he was behind Lawson, didn't see a lot of him. Now, again, gifted player, but have you seen a lot? No, they're expecting a lot of him almost immediately. To the back end, they also have a couple of guys to replace there, and Rudy Ford and Josh Holsey, both were drafted out of the secondary. They've got guys, though, they feel very, very confident about. They had basically three starting cornerbacks last year, so they'll just move the third guy up to 2. And then at the nickel position to replace Rudy Ford, they have a freshman that they feel pretty confident in Daniel Thomas, and also Jeremiah Dinson played a couple of years ago, got hurt against A&M in 2015. They've got a couple of guys there, but Daniel Thomas, the guy who got a couple of picks in the Iron Bowl, is a true freshman and basically his first real game action. So they do feel confident about replacing the guys in the secondary, but the rest of the defense, that linebacker core is all back, the safeties are all back, number one corner's back, and 2 of the 4 defensive linemen are back.
All right, now, James, I have got to run, man, but thank you so much. Back in a moment.
The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR is next. This is Sports Talk.
Okay, before we get to the full Monty, let's update the baseball. Texas A&M and Davidson, 6-6, top of the 14th. Davidson's got a runner on first. 2 men are out. Long Beach State over Cal State Fullerton, 3-0. Bottom of the fourth there. Already Louisville has beaten Kentucky. Luke Heinrich, the star pitcher for Oregon State, has requested a leave from the team after the Oregonian out there reported that he's a registered sex offender for something that happened many years ago. And he's not going to pitch. 11-1, an ERA under 1. And, somehow, some way this thing just came out now right here at the start of the Super Regional. I bet you the fans out there of the Beavers aren't real happy with the Oregonian. I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit later. In the meantime, let's welcome in for the full Monty on NASCAR, our good buddy, Monty Dutton. Kyle Busch on the pole at Pocono, 179.151. Martin Truex Jr., 178.5. Matt Kenseth, Ryan Blaney, and Kurt Busch round out your top 5. And we welcome in Monty. Before we talk about what's ahead, let's look back to a terrific race last week at Dover. And my goodness, that's why you cannot take your eyes off a NASCAR race. What was it? 4 laps to go. Looked like Lawson was cruising to a victory. And then out of nowhere, somebody wrecks. They got to do the restart. He blew the restart and allowed Jimmy Johnson to take the win.
Yes, that was I think that it's really tough when you're a bright, talented young driver, and it's very easy to identify Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney in that group. And they're very fast, and they win, and they lead a lot of laps. But the victories are hard to come by because they have this unbelievable talent. But there are these little fundamental things that you have to do in racing, like getting in and out of the pits, hitting your marks, not speeding, restarts, not spinning your tires, things like that come naturally when you get a little older. But it's funny, they have the brilliance as drivers. It makes them very exciting to watch. But particularly now with all these segments and all these little things, it seems like the person that you expect to win doesn't win every week. It seems like there's a last-minute wrinkle. And, closing the deal is as important in racing right now as it is in baseball, where you test your bullpen. You can't make a mistake down the stretch.
So true. Jimmy Johnson now with 3 wins. He's won at Texas. He's won at Bristol. He's won at Dover. 3 wins at 3 different length tracks. And now Pocono, which is a 2-mile track, with the strange turns there and all that, a whole different animal. But, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And as that race was winding down, Johnson was not gaining on Larson. He needed something to happen to give him a chance, and it did, and he took advantage of it. So, hey, good for him. Was it tie him with Cale Yarborough for most wins all time?
83. Well, not most, but tied him for, let's see, Petty's number 1, Pearson's number 2, Jeff Gordon's number 3, and Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison are 1 ahead of Johnson and Cale Yarborough now.
Yeah.
That was all off the top of my head. I could have even given you the numbers.
That's pretty good. And he was wearing a helmet that had Cale's image on it, honoring him. And you got any Cale Yarborough stories? I used to love watching Cale and Waddell Wilson work together at Darlington and do their thing.
Well, Cale Yarborough, there's probably never been a more determined race car driver than Bobby Allison, and more of and there's never been a more stubborn driver than Bobby Allison and a more determined driver than Cale Yarborough.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite comment about Cale Yarborough is what Bobby Allison said. He said that he wasn't sure that Cale ever knew what a good car was because he just wrestled anything he got into.
Yeah.
And to him, it just didn't matter. And so I've always thought that was the most telling comment about Cale Yarborough. But, you know, he was still around. He owned a team when I first started covering racing, and I've visited him at his dealership in Florence before. And, you know, he's always a hero of mine growing up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you grew up in South Carolina, Cale Yarborough and David Pearson, man, those were two icons, and especially the fact that Cale was from Timmonsville, well, from Sardis, but went to Timmonsville High School and was a really good football player as a running back. Probably could have gone to college and played a little college football.
Oh, he wasn't just a daredevil in a race car. I think there's all kind of stories about him jumping out of a plane in a parachute and, you know, wrestling alligators and bears and things. You know, I mean, when he was a young, you know, there was I mean, and Cale was also one of those drivers that he's just a little, you know, you can imagine him as a high school running back. You'd have to hit him low, right about the neck.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's got just incredibly broad shoulders.
Yeah.
And he, you know, a lot of drivers were built like that back in the days when the cars didn't have power steering and you really had to wrestle them. Most of the drivers like that had big torsos. Like Buddy Baker would be another guy in that category. But Cale was just a little short, stocky guy. You know, it was just all muscle. And so, you know, he didn't really ever get all that paunchy because he was thick to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And big old forearms, Popeye-like forearms. Yep. Now Pocono, you know it's such an interesting layout with that long backstretch, and I mean, it drives crew chiefs crazy trying to get the right setup for that track, doesn't it?
Yeah, because that's actually, I think that's an ingredient that some tracks miss. Now, Pocono has certainly had its share of snoozer races over the years, but I've always sort of given a track credit for degree of difficulty. And I like tracks that are different and don't like it when I have to figure out where I am every week because the track was just like the one I was. And so Pocono is an interesting place all the way around the same way that Martinsville. I mean, the culture and everything else and up in those mountains. It's an interesting place to go. It's also not too far a drive to New York City, and so I used to go into the city and go to see music or watch the Yankees or the Mets play.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a trip that I liked. I've also seen some really good races at Pocono. My favorite one, and maybe the weirdest race I saw, was when the best way I can describe it is that a thunderstorm, Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon collided on the Long Pond Straight because the race ended and Newman was running down Gordon and he just reached Gordon, was about to pass him, and then the bottom fell out and he couldn't get around him because it was just like a cloudburst hit, and that was it. It washed out the race and Gordon won the race. But the race ended because three elements, two race cars and a thunderstorm hit the track at the same time. That's my most memorable. That's probably one that not that many people would remember. A lot of people would remember the time that Jeremy Mayfield nudged Earnhardt out of the way and run up there. It was kind of like the opposite of what you expect.
Sure. 2.5 miles. I might have said it was 2 miles, but this is a 2.5 mile track. It just doesn't look it. It doesn't look like Talladega or Daytona because it doesn't have the big sweeping turns to it, right? It just has the tri-oval. Was it called tri-ovals? It's flatter turns, right?
Well, they call tri-ovals tracks like Charlotte and Daytona, so that one's all they call. You know, its nickname is the Tricky Triangle.
Yeah.
So most tracks, you know, that's the most confusing thing in the world about auto racing because there's one turn, but yet it counts as 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then there's another curve straightaway. Well, that's straight, and it's not straight. And so Pocono is the most honest track in racing. There really are 3 turns there. And each one of them is a different banking and a different trajectory.
All right, hang on, Monty. Hang on. We're going to hit a quick break, and I want to finish up with you and give you a chance to pick a winner for us, too. The full Monty of NASCAR going overtime here. Back in a moment. Update from College Station. There are 6-6. Bottom of the 14th. 2 outs. 3-2 pitch. Texas A&M batting. Bottom of the 14th. 6-6. Runners on second and third. 2 outs. 3-2 pitch goes foul. So Aggies trying to close this thing out, not close it out, win it if they can, and get past Davidson in this opening round game. Let's go back to Monty Dutton for some final comments on the Pocono race coming up this weekend in the mountains of Pennsylvania. And, he's had a struggling year for the most part, but Dale Jr. has run well at Pocono in his career, got a couple of wins, 11 top fives. I know there are other drivers. Jimmy Johnson does well here. Denny Hamlin. Oh, called strike 3. Sit down, Texas A&M.
Davidson gets out of a jam every inning.
He does. Yeah.
Anyway,
Denny Hamlin, the all-time laps leader there of active drivers. I don't know. Who do you like? Do you think this could be the weekend that Junior, even though he's got to start at the back of the pack, I think, could this be the race? Engines. Beg pardon?
He had to change engines.
Yeah. So is this the
– apparently had a transmission problem, and it wouldn't shift properly. And when it went, instead of from third, it went to second gear at speed and overrevved the engine and blew it up. So
ouch.
So he'll have to start it back.
So anyway, can he win here? Can he come from the back and win, or do you like somebody else more?
Maybe. I think he'd be a real long shot.
Yeah.
I think Pocono's a little bit harder place to come all the way from the back. The last 3 weeks, I've mentioned the guy who won and picked the guy who didn't. And it's kind of like I'd pick Kyle Briscoe to win the next one. And I'd pick Johnson. No, so-and-so. So here's a big flaw in my picking this year. I haven't been picking Truex enough.
Yes.
So I'll guarantee he won't win Sunday, but at least I'll get this off my conscience.
Yeah. Yeah, he is having a great year. You could not go wrong picking him most any week. Or for that matter, even though he's not winning a bunch, is Kyle Larson.
Yes, this is a place he could win. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a place that he could very definitely win. He's going to some. I have a feeling, by the way, that it's going to be that either he or Ryan Blaney is going to be at Michigan next week. I've got this feeling about it.
And you mean to win at Michigan next week?
Yeah. I think a young driver. I think either somebody like Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson or Ryan Blaney are going to win at Michigan next week. I'll decide in the next week.
And what are your expectations for Darrell Wallace Jr.?
I think it'd be good if he just sort of stays out of trouble, drives a good solid race, proves he belongs, finish about 10th to 12th, 10th to 15th. I think that would be about what that car does normally. And I really do hope he does well, because I think he's another one that he's not just a cardboard cutout to me. Mm-hmm. What little I've had to deal with him, he seemed like a personable guy that you'd like to talk to. And so I like to have people that this sport is going to need a heap of personality.
Yes.
Because all that it's losing. And so it's not just enough to be good. I mean, I'd like to see some guys I'd like to see a guy with the personality of Brad Keselowski. To me, Keselowski is probably the best combination of intelligence and ability.
All right, let me ask you this final thing, and I was going to bring this up, but Pat Daniel, erstwhile Clemson fan, reminds me, Cody Ware, making his 4th start of the season, driving a car that's going to have Clemson sponsorship on it. How about that?
Yes, that's it's nice to have a car on a racetrack that everybody is there and see instantly. I think that Dan Patrick lost visibility when the car stopped being glow in the dark green.
Yeah.
Now, with Clemson, you can't afford to gain notice. You can go with orange or you can go with purple, but everybody's going to see it.
What is the color scheme? Have you seen it?
I think it's mainly orange.
You think it's – I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
I've seen a picture of it. It's mainly orange.
Mainly orange? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are they using the tiger paw, or are they using something else related to Clemson?
I believe there's a logo on the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there are on this, please.
Okay, we're gonna let you go because your cell's dying on us. Thank you, Monty. Great stuff as always. We appreciate it. The full Monty on NASCAR here on this Friday night. So Clemson fans have something to pull for this weekend at Pocono, and Gamecock fans have something else to pull against at Pocono. Top of the 15th, 6-6. Davidson and Texas A&M. Man, they're almost about to play a doubleheader in one game. Unbelievable. By the way, I had a trivia question. I meant to mention this earlier. I was watching the movie last night, American Sniper. Okay. To me, a great movie. Clint Eastwood. Very, of course, touching, emotional story, etc. With great actors in them. Have you seen it? You've seen it? Okay, you have seen it. Okay, American Sniper. Here's my trivia question. You had to watch closely, and I had to go back and look 3 or 4 times to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing. But in the movie, towards the end, a former USC basketball player makes an appearance. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the movie, probably in about the last 5 or 6 minutes of the movie. It's in the scene where he who is that actor? I'm not good on actors' names. He plays Chris Kyle. I'm sorry. He plays Chris Kyle. Anyway, great actor. And he's come back from his 4th tour. Bradley Cooper, thank you. Yeah, K-Mac would be in here giving me just a terrible time. He's back from his 4th tour of Iraq, I guess it was. And he's at a bar, sitting at a bar. And it's in that scene where a former Gamecock basketball player, you have to be looking closely, but he does make an appearance. Anybody know? I know it's late in the show. We'll pick it up on Monday. Think about it. Go. How'd you know? But I mean, how did you look that up, or did you saw it? You recognized it when you saw it? Pat says he saw it. Mm-hmm. Oh, a friend pointed out to him. Okay. Yeah, I had to do a double take. I'm going to wait and see if anybody picks up on it, and we'll talk about it Monday. Remind me Monday to mention that again. Former Gamecock basketball player makes a brief appearance in the movie in that scene. All right, 6-6, top of the 15th. Davidson, Texas A&M, nobody on, 2 are out for Davidson, which was down 6-0 in the game and has come all the way back. And Long Beach State up on Fullerton 3-0. I was going to mention something about the pitcher. I mean, it's just I don't know anything about it. I don't know a single thing about it. Something that happened back in his childhood that led him to have to be a sign up as a registered sex offender. And I don't know how much, I don't know what the laws are and what you can and can't do. I mean, I guess he was moving forward with his life and had been a model citizen and a model student and had been following all the rules. And I guess maybe Oregon State, knew about it. And now it comes out in the paper here at the eve of the Super Regional, but, years after the incident occurred. And I don't know. Is that something you report now? Is that news now? I don't know. I don't know about, I don't know about all the details with it and that and all that. But anyway, it's led him to withdraw from the team or take a leave of absence from the team now because he did not want to be a distraction as they hit the Super Regionals. All right. Enjoy your baseball, racing, and the NBA Finals tonight. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Pat. And we'll see you Monday night here on Sports Talk. Well, we made it through another Friday.
You're ready whenever you are for recruiting. By the way, it's recording.
I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait till Sunday.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow, what a game! What a game at Texas A&M. Let's see if I can. Will be pretty good on defense as well. Let's find out more from somebody who would know more, and it's James Crepia from AL.com joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, how you guys doing?